And now you're running as a socialist, which is antithetical to the American system, destroyed families because they were also deceived in thinking that has no place to be celebrating Veterans Day for respect our troops and respect. In the Quran, Surah 1671 explicitly states you're going against Allah. Like it's in your book. Iraq and Afghanistan, Syria, Sudan. 99% of the people who win the lottery, they all go broke. Lacking of a context beyond her ideology, which is a socialist ideology.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله.
What's up, guys? My name is Jovian. This is Crescent Cross Covenant Coalition, or CCCC. And yeah, I'm in a new space. I decided to come upstate for the weekend, and I saw some very annoying headlines in regards to a Muslim politician running in Queens for, I guess, assemblywoman. And despite me needing a weekend to relax, she pissed me off so much that as a Muslim, as an American, and as a New Yorker, I needed to make this video. So yeah, I'm about like 2.5 hours upstate. Beautiful, remote sort of place. For those of you not from New York City, anything that's outside of the five boroughs is upstate. So whether it's 30 minutes upstate or 5 hours upstate, until you get to like Montreal, that shit is all upstate. New Yorkers don't give a shit. It's all the same. Albany, Buffalo, Rochester. I don't even know where these places are. Irrelevant, but it's still upstate. So that's where I'm at. And featuring my amazing Rimowa. I've wanted a Rimowa luggage for years, so I finally have one. And this will be the co-host for today. Muslim politician running for assembly in Queens, Aber Kawas. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. Zohranmamdani endorsed her, so that's already okay. Already interesting. You already know that she's probably a socialist, which she is. And she says, this woman, I can't call her this because she's Muslim and she's a hijabi, and I want to be kind. But this lovely woman, she says that America, maybe specifically New York City, has no place to be celebrating Veterans Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Columbus Day, because all of it is like antithetical to her movement, or the movement she believes in, which is a socialist, anti-capitalist movement. And yeah, she's against celebrating that, and that's sort of like part of her platform. And she deleted all those posts. I don't know if it was some sort of blog that she was being interviewed by, or maybe it was her own blog, but it was all deleted. So unfortunately, my reference is New York Post, which the New York Post. But in this context, them and like Yahoo News were like the only credible sources I found to source the statements that she said, which we'll put up somewhere around here. So yeah, she's a Palestinian American New Yorker running on the Democratic Socialist ticket in Queens, and she has the endorsement of Zoran. So yeah, a few problematic things with that. One, let's go on the American sort of like culture first. So I think anyone who's coming across this show can at least respect the fact that we as Americans can agree that even if we do respect our troops and respect the people who literally served, right? They served our country. We can respect them without respecting the packaging of, the war on terror, or weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. All the ways they packaged it. Like we can have a problem with that. We can have a problem with America destabilizing basically every country, every Muslim country on that side of the world. We can have an issue with what country is making America do these things, right? In Iran, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, Syria, Sudan, Lebanon, Yemen. Of course, we can have issues with that, but it sort of defeats the purpose to have an issue with the soldiers themselves because they're not in a position of power. They're just serving their country, right? Some of them because that's what they want to do all their lives. Some of them, like the Puerto Ricans in my family, when they serve the army, the military, any branch, use the funds as like a launching pad for whatever career they want to get into, or maybe be in a better position in the sanitation or NYPD or, whatever their reasons are. There are reasons there that don't necessarily have to be, I want to kill Muslims. Uh, I hate Muslims. I hate brown people. I want to destroy these countries. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, it's all the reasons I said, more personal family reasons, and they just so happen to be choosing a job where they think they're defending our country, but they're the ones also being deceived. They're not the ones in a place of power where they want to, like I've said in a previous episode, like they don't realize they're going to these countries under the under false context, right? So in that aspect, celebrating Veterans Day has nothing to do with the destabilization of the Middle East and the Muslim countries in general, and the rest of the world, of course. Veterans Day are for the veterans, the ones who were deceived, the ones who put their life on the line, lost limbs, lost their lives, destroyed families, because they were also deceived in thinking that they had to go over there to defend democracy or to instill democracy in these places. Like like they didn't know. They were deceived as well. They were manipulated. So on the surface level of Americans want to celebrate Fourth of July, they want to celebrate Veterans Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day. Like these are American cultural things that sort of exist for the people, and that's separate from the deception of their actions or the deception of what's being done almost against their will without them even knowing. So for this Muslim woman, Aber, right? Again, I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. I don't know how to say her name. Don't know how to say it. Aber, for her to overlook that is so asinine and so silly, lacking of a context beyond her ideology, which is a socialist ideology, and just like extremely ignorant to think, hey, I'm in America. These Americans, generally speaking, who are, probably mostly white or Hispanic and love this country, they already think they hate Muslims because the country has tricked them into doing so, and then they went over there, right? And hopefully they saw the truth. If they didn't see the truth, if they saw a packaged version of the truth, then they hate Muslims even more. And now you're running as a socialist, which is antithetical to the American system. And like, you think they're not going to have an issue with you saying like, oh, we need to abolish Veterans Day and Columbus Day and 4th of July? I was going to make a joke and say you might as well have said like 9/11 has to happen again or something, but she's also made a comment about, she kind of like passively swept under the rug 9/11. And when you are ignorant and lacking of moral judgment and just the environment that is American politics and just the American sentiment, like now they're going to bring up her comments on 9/11, and even if her comments were valid in stating like, oh, it's deeper than what they're saying, and 9/11 was committed by someone else, it wasn't Muslims, and it wasn't Saudi Arabia, it wasn't the Taliban, it wasn't Osama bin Laden. But now they're going to bring up out of context her statements on 9/11 because she's talking about dumb shit that doesn't even matter. Veterans Day only matters to the veterans. Leave them alone. I don't give a about Veterans Day. I'm not a veteran, right? And no one super close to me is a veteran. But I respect the fact that, hey, this matters to people. Same way, okay, 4th of July, like we used to have big parties at my house for with my family. I don't care about 4th of July directly, but I do love New York City. I love my country. I love that I was born here, thank God. So of course, people have the right to celebrate that. Columbus Day. I think the Muslims were here first, but for Columbus Day, if Americans believe that, then what does that have to do with you? Especially you being a Muslim. Again, and I don't feel this way, but you can't pronounce your name, I can't even pronounce your name, right? And I'm Muslim. Obviously I'm a baby Muslim, so I'm learning. But I can't pronounce her name, Aber. It sounds alien to Americans. Muslims in hijab are already triggering to New Yorkers specifically and Americans in general, especially the white Christians. So, and that's not to say to dim your light or to dim your truth or dim your authenticity, of course not. But to not understand the packaging of, hey, like there are more important things to talk about than Veterans Day. Like only veterans give a fuck about that day. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. So yeah, seeing all that pissed me the fuck off. And then that goes into something deeper, which is socialism. Why are all these Muslims, let's say New York, because I'm not sure about some other places. Some other places in America, I thought they were just Democrats. Maybe they're socialists too. I'm not sure. But the Muslims that I've seen, Zoran, Aber, and then two or three others in New York, for some reason Queens specifically, all the Muslims are in DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. There's nothing that is socialist about Islam. Let me explain to you guys, Muslims and Christians, so we're all on the same page, especially Americans. Islam is against socialism because on the base, like really like first grade level definition of socialism is that everyone's equal and the government is sort of the caretakers of things, right? Like not as much individual liberty to innovate and excel because you can't leave the the sort of non-innovative, unintelligent, or lacking of motivation people behind. So like you sort of have to keep at the pace as the dumbest person, much like a speed limit, right? A speed limit, and New York is the worst in speed limits. New York is like a lot of places are 25 miles an hour. The speed limit is set in place, whether a psyop or not, for the safest roads for the dumbest possible person who will be permitted to get a driver's license. That's all a speed limit is. So in a lot of places in New York City, specifically, it's 25 miles. That's like a mentally retarded person driving, I guess. I guess they give those driver's licenses out to those people. Socialism is that. And there's nothing socialist about Islam. Islam is actually against it. Islam is antithetical to socialism, right? In the Quran, Surah 1671 explicitly states its anti-socialist stance, which basically states there are people who are given blessings in this life financially with power, right, with responsibility, and there are people who don't have it, right? And that's not only is it equally part of their tests, but for you to be against that is saying that that duality is not by design, which means that you're going against Allah. You're going against God if you think that the design of inequality, and I wouldn't even say it's inequality, it's just there are some people who are, whether it's through the characteristics that Allah's blessed on them, right? Like motivated, hardworking, constantly not needing inspiration or motivation to get shit done, focused, right? Goal oriented. Like a lot of those attributes are what causes successful people. And then if there's exploitative things that some of these successful people do, then that's part of their test and they're going to be judged. And then at the same time, the people on the other side, whether it is just how it's meant to be or because of their misdoings or their, lack of responsibility or laziness, they're on this side of things. And they have a test, and then the people who have blessings from God, who have riches and fortune and resources, their duty and their test is to make the world a better place. And there are provisions in place in Islam where 2% of your annual salary has to be donated. So 2% is the same 2% no matter where you stand on the economic, ladder, so to speak. So If a billionaire has to give away 2% as a Muslim, then imagine that kind of impact that that can have on a community when, if he's a true Muslim who's doing things the halal way, that's part of his test. So for socialists like a bear, to be against that design, you're going against Allah. Like it's in your book. It's in your book. You wear hijab. It's in your book. You follow your book. So socialism, right? Whether she's doing it because she actually believes in socialism or she's just hopping on the train and the bandwagon of what's working, right? Like maybe, the new movement for my generation is not running on the Democratic ticket, but running on the Democratic Socialist ticket. Whether it's that or she genuinely believes in this shit, it's still haram. It's still not reflective of Islam's pillars and Islam's values. It's not. It's not at all. Again, the disparity between the people who have the riches and the resources and the fortune and the people who don't is by design. So that's not to say you can't help the people on who are struggling or who need the support, of course, especially against exploitative people who have resources who are doing everything in their power to not spread that blessing, with their 2% or whatever else they want to do. Of course, there are evil billionaires and up who only exploit. So of course, as a person, when you see that, your duty is to make sure you protect the poor. Of course, that's fine. But to build a system where the duality cannot exist and everyone has to be on equal playing field, you're disrespecting Allah by thinking that that's the right system. Islam is strictly against that, completely. So my Muslims who aren't familiar with that, don't fall for it. And my Christians who think that this is reflective of Islam, don't fall for it. Because even if she really is Muslim, I can't even tell anymore. I can't even tell. But let's say all these socialists are really Muslim. They're either not following, like they're culturally Muslim. They're not actually following the book and following our pillars. Or they're using Islam as a mask, just to get elected, to get the white people to vote for them, because the white sort of New Yorkers who come from Iowa or all these random places, like they'd kill themselves before they vote for someone who's white and conservative. So the opposite of white conservative is like super, super liberal socialist Muslim woman. And she's Palestinian, so of course that comes with all that baggage. Another perfect surah that represents what I'm talking about is Surah 43, verse 32. In this surah, it's basically breaking down the people who have that responsibility and those resources. Oftentimes, as long as they're doing it the right way, they have a character innately from God that can handle that responsibility and can use it wisely, can be a good leader, can be a good person who does have a fortune and uses it responsibly to help their society, help the people around them, help the world, help their country. That's why some of those things are placed on them. Not only is it a test, but Allah says it's also because these people can handle it. Much like, like when you see all these, like a perfect example as to also why interest and gambling is bad. I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, 99%, maybe even 100%, but let's be generous. 99% of the people who win the lottery, they all go broke. Because first of all, it's gambling and interest, right? All of that is combined in one, and the overtaxation of winning the lottery is disgusting. But these people don't have the tools necessary to use that fortune, capitalize on building some sort of empire for themselves and their family, and generational wealth, but they're also not meant to have that. Because if they were meant to have that, they would have it. They don't need the lottery to make money. Like, this is why, actual rich people don't play the lottery. Only poor people play the lottery. Because once you win that shit, it's going to be taken away from you because you're not meant to have riches. Because either, again, Allah doesn't want that for you because you're incapable, or if you want to take spirituality out of it, religion out of it, you don't have the tools necessary. You haven't built the tools necessary to handle that, right? Like at the gym, if you've never gone to the gym in 3 years, you're not going to go to the bench press and then bench press 240. You would never do that because you haven't built up the muscle, right? You haven't built up the sort of work ethic to handle that kind of bench press. You got to go with just the bar. So that's the same thing with money. So Allah is not only blessing people for a test, he's blessing people because they can their character can responsibly, God willing, right? Responsibly use those funds, use that fortune, use those resources and make the world a better place. And then give that 2% back responsibly. It's called zakat. That's one of our pillars in Islam. Zakat. So her just being a socialist, even if she said nothing of what I just said with Veterans Day and all that, socialism is not a Muslim attribute in any way. It's against Islam. It's haram. And final thought, if she has such an issue with the American way, then why the are you here? You know what I mean? Like, this is where the white nationalists, like, I understand their perspective, you know? And again, I don't know her full story, so of course, if she's from Palestine, then, duh, of course, that's why she's here. But, like, if you have such an issue with that, like, genuinely, like, not in some, like, white nationalist sort of way, but, like, go to a socialist country then. There's, like, European countries that have Muslims that are socialists or more socialist leaning, and just run over there. Do that over there, you know? Like, to come here, again, let's assume she has to be here, right? Then, like, there are other ways to go about implementing the world you want to see, but getting into politics to then change, like, the entire foundation of America, which would be anti-Islamic, like, it sounds insane. It sounds insane that someone would even want to do that, like, complain about the foundations of a country that they reside in and then attack it. But majority of the people who live here want it to stay like that. Like, this is why, like this is the kind of packaging that why white Americans hate Islam, because of shit like this. Because now they see her with the hijab, and now they think, like, this is how Muslims really are, right? All the other Muslims are doing taqiyya, right? They're hiding their power level, according to them, which is not real, I've said in the past. And she let the veil slip, and this is what Muslims really think. It's like, no, 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 no. If she was really Muslim, she'd shut the fuck up, and she wouldn't run at all. That's what a real Muslim would do. A real Muslim woman, even if she wants to make content or some shit about this, she would not be running. So that alone, it's like, why are you running? Why would you even run? That's like, I didn't say that first because, there's so many layers to this, but a real Muslim woman would not even run. Because this isn't representative of Islam in any way. There's no political position where a woman should be the front-facing person of something like this. Then you add the socialist aspect, which is not Muslim. It's not representative of anything we believe in. It's antithetical to the Muslim teachings. It's against God. It's haram. And then the added aspect of, hey, like, if you're going to run in America, why would you be so anti all these things that are baked into our culture? You're making Muslims look worse. And I don't want to come here and bash a fellow Muslim sister, but it's almost like she's also a threat to everything that I stand for and everything that I want to build a platform on. She's a threat to all that because she's making someone like me look bad and look like I'm lying when she's the liar. She's the liar. Any Muslim you see on the socialist ticket is a liar. They're not representative of Islam. They might not even be Muslim, right? And I would never make that claim. It's just, they might not be. But if they are, they're culturally Muslim, and they're just using the bandwagon to get into power and to implement things that are anti-American, which it is. And I hate to, like, get into rhetoric that sounds nationalistic, because I'm so proud to be a New Yorker and I love to be an American, but I'm Muslim first. Americans should be Christian first. They should be their religion first. And that's what should be bringing us together. The belief in God, the belief in Jesus being our Messiah. That first, and then American after. But a lot of these people, white Americans, it's like American freedom of speech first, and then Christianity is underneath that. And so I get that some of these talking points might sound like them, But they do have a point when someone like this is sharing rhetoric within this sort of packaging. And this is when they have a point. And then I understand why they hate Islam for shit like this. So please, she's already gone. She's already into all this shit. She got Zohran Mamdani's endorsement. She's probably going to win. So it's too late for her. But please, I beg of you Muslims, and then specifically you Christians, do not let her actions and do not let her statements be a representative of what Islam actually is. It's not. At the minimum, she's using Islam as a Trojan horse to get in, or she's just culturally Muslim and she doesn't realize what she's saying. But if she opened up her book, especially the two surahs that I referenced, she would know socialism is haram. So people in Queens, if you're watching this, do not vote for her. I don't even know. I don't even know who's really running against her, honestly. So I don't honestly don't even know if I'm just preaching to the choir. But at the minimum, you guys just need to know that this is not about Islam. This is their own thing. Socialists are their own thing, separate from Islam, right? Much like if a priest sucks a little kid, that's not representative of Christianity. That's the priest. And even if there's a bunch of them that do that, that doesn't mean that's the Bible that teaches that. There's some sort of perversion within the culture that is creating priests wanting to suck little kids' or touch little kids' whatever. But it's not Christianity that teaches that. The Bible doesn't teach that. Same thing with this. Unfortunately, there is an unfortunate pattern of a bunch of socialists being Muslim, culturally Muslim or not, whatever. That is them. That's the culture that's being whipped up, using them to weaponize the system, or they're weaponizing the system to use socialism as the Trojan horse to get in. Regardless, that's them. That is not representative of the Quran and the teachings that the Quran has. No. And as I get more and more in a position of power, I will make sure to be against this shit in a more vocal and a more powerful way. But for now, the best I can do is just share the message with you guys. I appreciate if you got this far. Again, my name is Jovian. This is Crescent Cross Covenant Coalition. And thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow. Let me know what you think about the show. Let me know your thoughts. I love to engage with you guys and share. Again, I'm just here to heal the divide between Christians and Muslims, show that we are 90% aligned, and we can build a peaceful coalition to unite and to stop the evils in this country and in the West in general and in the world. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you soon. Peace.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم